Hey everybody, welcome to the Bullseye channel. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be doing just a fun response to the video that we released yesterday, which was the MHS pistol qualification comparison using the 4 MHS pistols that we have on deck, or that we brought on deck rather. So I hope you're excited about that. Had a pretty decent response, at least so far as this channel goes. And I've got my little talking points here, and I'm going to run through them just to give you a preview of what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the main themes that came out in the comments, usage of hit factor, the SIG sights and why I think they're terrible, the training effect that took place, why am I using optics when the military doesn't have them, my opinion just in general about the experience, Smith & Wesson flyers, does the Beretta suck, and the Glock grip angle, and then I'll give you a preview of what's coming on the channel and sort of for the new subscribers that we have, and we have quite a few, welcome, what's coming up next and what you should expect. But before I do that, I want you all to just marvel in the fact that you're not super close to my face, because I got one of these little mics here, which one of you has been very persistently. So we're gonna have nice backdrops now, and I should be able to walk all the way back here, and you should still be able to hear me clearly. So that's really exciting. So I will say, just to start with, thank you guys so much for coming out to this tiny little corner of YouTube. This is the Bullseye channel, where we talk about bullseye pistol and bullseye shooting. And parallel to that, we are doing a series on the MHS called MHS Reimagined. It is a 10-year retrospective on the MHS program that happened 2015 to 2017 that selected the SIG M18 and M17 as the standard service pistol sidearm for the armed forces, starting with the Army and then percolating out to everyone else. We are doing a 2025 take on it, so that addresses a little bit of the issues as to why I have optics on all of them. Basically, it's MHS not relitigated, it's MHS reimagined, right? Knowing what we know now, right? We had what those pistols eventually became in 2025, and we ran them through the ringer, as it were. What would we think, right? That's essentially what we're doing. And, I'm just one person. I am not the, U.S. Army Research Laboratory, right? This is meant for entertainment, meant for fun, and your engagement makes it more fun. So please make sure that you like, comment, and we're going to have a lot more, so subscribe. If you came here because of the MHS stuff, you're going to notice that 2/3 of what we do are going to be training videos on Bullseye. Right now I'm training for Olympic rapid fire, so you're going to be seeing a lot of that. And we're doing a 50-yard test. I've got a lot of 50-yard tests where we take, doesn't have to be a target gun, but a gun, right? And we bench it at 50 yards, and then we measure the group, and then I shoot it one-handed at 50 yards, and we see what we're able to maintain. I think the next one that you're going to see is going to be a Smith & Wesson Model 52, and it's a pretty cool video, so you're going to like that. So if you're here because of the MHS stuff, and then you see some stuff that's like not MHS related, just know that that means that probably the next one is going to be MHS, because I try to alternate them, but I like to keep a 2/3 to 1/3 ratio in order to sort of like maintain the spirit here. And the whole idea from my perspective is, one, I'm just super interested in service pistols, and so we're going to talk about them because it's my channel. I'm the boss. Well, I guess YouTube's the boss, but like I'm the boss of what I put out. And then even a 50-yard test, like if I 50-yard test a Glock P365, which I have done, you haven't seen it yet, or something different like that, that's my opportunity to expose you all to one-handed shooting and how difficult and enjoyable it can be. So that's what we do here. There's so much more. The MHS Reimagined series, I think, is going to take 19 months. I usually, because of my obligations, I have to go away from YouTube for anywhere from 3 to 4 months. So expect, a little bit of a hiatus. I'll try and, create some videos so that you've got some entertainment while I'm running around. And then also know that, like, if you came in here because of the recent couple of videos, there's a whole playlist on MHS Reimagined. I think that was like the 7th or 8th video in the series. So make sure you start from the beginning and check them all out. All right, that was a pretty long intro. Let's go ahead and let's get to the responses to the main issues. Before that, I'm going to take a sip of Old Milwaukee, America's non-alcoholic beer. It is the beverage that is built for the world of leisure. And it is very malty. All right, so in the video, we did the normal points, and what I got was a 390, 396, 396, 400 with a Glock, 396 in a row. Had I just done that for the video, it would have been a pretty boring video, right? By adding hit factor, right, it's MHS Reimagined, you know, a component of the MHS contract, which I don't think they did. They certainly didn't do after the bid sample test in the MHS contract, was this idea of sort of like shooter ability, you know, and more broad than they did in the BST, exposure to what the service member thinks about it, right? How shootable is the platform? Because after they down selected, they just kind of like down selected, and then very quickly, once they got the bids in, they kind of went with the SIG and then conducted some of the engineering tests after that. So I'm just one person, right? And to me, even though the times in the Marine Corps pistol qual are prescribed, it makes sense to use hit factor, because to me, for my level of shooting, you know, and I'm not bragging, but the times are so generous that it basically, they don't exist. And so what I said when I went to those quals is like, I'm going to shoot them as they become natural to me in order for me to ensure, right? And I didn't do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times out of 120 shots, a hit, right? Like a shot in the lethal zone that will give me max points. So if I did that across the board and I measured hit factor, that was going to get us a little bit of like shootability. And I know a couple commenters are like, well, that's not appropriate. It's not an appropriate use of hit factor. I disagree, you know, and that's fine. We can disagree because I guess from my perspective, the rankings in terms of hit factor were, it's not a perfect system. They were pretty consistent with the reasons I thought that the Smith & Wesson was faster than, let's say, the Beretta or the SIG, was consistent just shooting them as I have shot them, right? And at this point, they all have over 1,000 rounds. Some of them have 1,300 rounds, and we're pushing towards the 2,000 round update. My goal is to eventually get 12,501 round through each one of these, and then we're going to call it, and we're going to make some, we're going to crown some winners. So I used hit factor. To me, it's a suitable proxy for shootability when you just have one person. That being said, somebody brought this up. Was there a training effect? Meaning, like, did I gain proficiency as I shot it? The answer is yes, of course. Like, I don't think it was profound, but it's definitely unavoidable. If you do something 4 times, you're probably going to be better the 4th time, regardless of the equipment that you're using, than you were the first time. And as I mentioned in the video, in order to mitigate that, I ordered the order and I shot them, starting with the pistol that I had shot the most in my career, which is the Beretta, and then the SIG, and then the Glock, and then the Smith & Wesson, in order to advantage, right, the gun that I had shot via training effect, the pistol that I had shot the least. And so I'm trying to level the playing field as best that I can. And I think it kind of worked. Now, if I had shot a 5th time with the Glock or the SIG or the Beretta, would my times have been better than the Smith & Wesson? Perhaps. Probably not with the Beretta, right? Because there's just some mechanical realities to using the Beretta, which we'll get to here in a minute. So that was the reason for hit factor. And I think I'm going to continue it as I go along. It also makes a more interesting video, to be quite frank. Because if I made a video and I was like, hey, I got pretty much almost a perfect on all these, that would tell you that the guns are all equal. And the guns really aren't all equal. SIG sights. So I keep saying that the SIG sights on the M18 suck. Why do I say that? Okay. They suck because they're massive. Specifically, the front sight is tall, chunky, and wide. The rear sight, and I'm talking about the notch, is not wide enough. So why does that suck? So the reason that that sucks is because your brain, when you're shooting iron sights, works best with a 2-to-1 ratio of front sight to gap. What does that mean? That means on either side of your front sight, if you were to add those together, they should be the same size as your front sight. Okay? Because that is going to allow you and your brain to sort of understand and come up with sight alignment. The problem with the SIG, well, let me add one more fuel onto the fire. The SIG are combat sights. What does that mean? That means that, you know, at whatever distance they measured them at, or they sighted them in at when they produced them, you are to put your assembled sight picture. So there's, just imagine this is your front sight and these are your two. You're supposed to put your entire front sight over top of where you want the bullet to impact, right? Not like the Beretta where it's bullseye. So you take your assembly and you put it, let's say you're, you know, like if this is your target, you would put it here, right? Well, actually, we'll just do this. There's a bull, right? If I wanted to hit this with Beretta, I would put it here. If I wanted to hit it with a SIG, I would put it here. Now the problem, right? This is nice and even. Like you can probably arrange that. The problem with the SIG is they're like this. There's like, so you're kind of like trying to figure out your sight alignment, and that becomes more prevalent because the combat hold, the lack of distance on either sight, and the size of them means that after a certain point, your front sight is like covering up completely what you're trying to hit, right? It's just not ideal. Can you get past it? Sure. Is it ideal? No. Do I hate it? Yes. Is it solved by optics? Yes. So that's why I say that they are not good. If you can give me big chunky sights, and they can even have not the right spacing on either side, but then make them a 6 o'clock hold, right? Make them a bullseye hold so that I can at least see my impacts, right? I can see the product of what I'm shooting. I'm not just covering up what I'm aiming at. We talked about training effect. Why am I using optics? So somebody asked, and is the military issuing optics? Really, no. You know, if you go on base anywhere, your regular Joe Blow who's using a handgun as they're issued a handgun, it's going to have iron sights on it. I'm not doing it for two reasons. One, again, we're 2025 in it. We're taking, you know, the best of what we think at 2025, given the MHS sort of lineage pistols that we've done, and to me they should have optics. I'm an iron sight shooter. I shoot better with iron sights. I prefer iron sights. You know, I said in one of my videos, like, there's really only 3 reasons that you would want a red dot on top of your, and it's the 3 C's that you would want a red dot. And the one is, there are 3 considerations, and the one is, well, there's complexity, there is cost, there is choice, and there is competition. I might have flubbed that up. I can't remember exactly what they are in that video. And they are great. I mean, red dots on optics are fantastic, but the reality of procurement is that there probably not a lot of people are going to see them on there, even in the military, right? The units that can afford them outside of their sort of standard would be able to do so. But, you know, the thing I hate the most about optics is that it adds complexity on top of my handgun, but also adds significant cost. I mean, it's a handgun on top of my handgun. That sucks, right? I would just like, you know, have 2 handguns or more ammo. But I'm using them here because, 1, I want to get better at them, and 2, I think that they should be on them, right? Because it's so much easier to train and learn. I don't know that it's necessarily once you've learned it's easier to shoot, but they're just great, right? And there's a reason why everybody's moving to them. Smith & Wesson Flyers. I know Ben Steger said that he felt like that the barrel had like uncalled flyers when he had it. I can tell you without a doubt the 2 shots that I shot on either side of my max point zone, one on the right, one on the left, those were not flyers. I called both of those. And so that's just, I didn't do the best that I could do. That's not anything against, you know, the Smith & Wesson. And as a matter of fact, you're going to get the accuracy video here on the Smith & Wesson probably in 2 weeks. I think you're going to be surprised. So stay tuned, like and subscribe. Does the Beretta suck? No, it doesn't suck. It's a great gun. The Beretta is a great gun. It served our country for a very, very long time. Do I think that the DASA offers advantages over other guns? Not really. Maybe some advantages, but they can be achieved through other means. The Beretta is a great gun. It's fun to shoot. It's easily the most nostalgia-rich, enjoyable to shoot in single action. Mine in particular has a really bad single action trigger. Not bad, but it's like 5 pounds and it's very stiff, and it's not enjoyable. It's not your Langdon Tactical. And I should get this out of the way. Like, I'm not permanently modifying any of these. I'm not going to do anything to these pistols during this evaluation that I wouldn't be able to do to something that was issued to me in the Army, like add grip tape or something like that. And then Glock grip. Yeah, the Glock grip, I mean, it was just a different angle. That's why I mentioned it in the video. But I've shot the Glock plenty, and I actually kind of like the angle of the Glock. It was just weird based on my holster placement. I don't think it had any impact on the times at all. I was pretty fast. As a matter of fact, my fastest time on that video was with the Glock. That was that big green in that heat map. That was a fast run. So I think that gets it overall. Like, what's my impression after shooting them? My impression is that when it comes to standard range shooting between 7 and 25 yards, most of it at 7 and 15 yards, all things equal, the Glock and the Smith & Wesson are probably the better choices based on what we saw. Does it matter? No, not too much. And so at that point, it kind of goes down to personal preference, right? Now, there are different considerations when you talk about what makes the perfect service pistol. We'll go watch that video if you haven't already. And we are going to view it through that lens at the end, right? You know, that's like simplicity, durability, et cetera, and so forth. But I really hope that you guys liked the video. I really like shooting it. It took about 4 hours or 5 hours to shoot, and it probably took about the same amount of time to edit. And so just out there, having at it with my crumpled piece of paper, like writing, it would have helped to have this person out there. I could just say the times too. But it was a lot of fun. So next up, you're going to see a 50-yard test. Next up for MHS, you're either going to see the accuracy video, or actually I just created what I think the next Marine Corps pistol qual should be. It's 40 shots, and surprise, surprise, most of it is shot, nearly all of it is shot at 25 yards, and most of the shots are precision. Not most of them. Precision meaning that, like, in order to get points at all, you have to, put a round where it needs to be. So hold out for that. It's going to be super fun. I'm going to leave you with the 3 rules of life. Rule 1, don't be a jerk. Rule 2, take care of yourself. Rule 3, help other people. And as always, know that you don't know what's going on in someone else's life. They don't know what's going on in your life, so be kind and courteous when dealing with other people. I hope you guys are enjoying this weekend. Hold hard, shoot straight.